My role here is to provide you with an investigative report. I'm not here to advocate any course of action. If you think you hear me saying that, it's certainly not my intent. However, it is a little confusing because I am also a fact witness with regard to some of the allegations. So my intent with regard to the written report you have in front of you and the oral presentation of that report I'm about to make is to give you the facts as I know them as neutrally as possible. The word corruption, it's a hard word. It conjures up a lot of bad connotations. I'm guilty of slinging hard words from time to time myself, and I think are regrettable. Corruption is, however, not a useful term in the law. When we talk about official misconduct, what we're talking about is three categories of actions. They're called the feasance family. A feasance is to act. So the three categories that the Supreme Court has outlined for us with regard to official misconduct are malfeasance, which of course is the worst, and you see the definition there from the court is the doing of some act which is positively unlawful. The second category of official misconduct is misfeasance. Misfeasance is the wrong and injurious exercise of lawful authority. And then the third category is nonfeasance, which is failure to act. Those are the three categories that we'll be discussing with regard to the allegations of official misconduct. So the mayor asked me, I did not listen to the radio interview that Councilor Mellons gave live. I did, however, after the mayor asked me to prepare this report, listen to that. I hope that I've captured all the allegations that were made orally. If I haven't, it's an unintentional omission. I'm happy to answer any questions at the conclusion of my report. The first is everything runs through the mayor. And that's a quote. And of course, as we've discussed in the past, our law and charter designates the mayor as the administrative authority of the city. That is a legal term. It's defined by the West Virginia Code as the person responsible for the conduct and management of the affairs of the municipality. So the statement that everything runs through the mayor is in fact a testimony that in fact the city is running as the charter designated, the mayor as the administrative authority, and as the code defines that responsibility. The city has an annual budget of almost $7 million. Now there are other options to run the city. You could run the city by a commission or a committee a form of government. Those are all outlined in the state code. And in fact, you can create your own form of government wholly outside the state code. But the law as it exists now, until council and the people of Westover change it, is the mayor is the administrative authority of the city. The second observation was the city attorney will not speak to me. And again, this is perhaps a misunderstanding of the charter. The charter clearly says that unilateral communications between members of council and any member of city staff are prohibited, and it's called interference with administration. It's Charter Section 3.04D, which says that except for inquiries and investigations, the city council is not authorized to talk to any officer of the city who is supervised by the mayor. And I talk about, I've represented municipalities this is my third decade in West Virginia, and I've represented in one form or another, almost every major city in the state. Unity of command is essential. The key here is that all the information goes through the administrative authority and back out to council. Council acts as a quorum body, and only as a quorum body. The third was the city attorney refused to act on a Dalton disciplinary matter. And that's in fact false, or not accurate, I should say, perhaps a misunderstanding. Now, I was never involved in a conversation between the mayor and former Chief Panico about Officer Dalton, but I was involved with discussions with the mayor about his administration of that matter. And it was consistent every time, and for some time. The mayor's response was the same every time that the chief asked for disciplinary action. The mayor's response was, bring me a case. And I can even share with you the mayor's frame of mind when he answered that, because he shared it with me at the time, which we had just, before I became city attorney, the city went through a contentious and very expensive police disciplinary matter. And we could have done it better, and we learned our lesson. And I think you'll see in the coming weeks, we have in fact learned our lesson about the complexity and the challenge of police discipline. The mayor was well aware of it as a result of the prior police disciplinary matter. So with regard to the Dalton discipline, it was the same every time. The advice was the same every time. Bring me the paper. You know, we treat our employees fairly here. Nobody gets summarily fired. We use progressive discipline, we use counseling, we use documentation, as any well-run organization would. The personnel file for Lieutenant Dalton, unfortunately, was virtually empty when I went to look at it after we received the petition. The petition was received late summer 2020, shortly after the petition, and it was received while the mayor was in the hospital. So we had, Councilor Andrzejczyk kindly agreed to sit in on the meeting with me, but we were formulating a response when we got a communication from the prosecuting attorney that she had received the petition and the allegations and asked us to hold any investigation or action at the city level until the criminal investigation was complete. You know, the petition was a remarkable thing. I'd never seen or heard of anything like that before, nor had many of